YouTube, another stream with your boy, Keldon. Welcome back to the channel. And you already know where we at. I always come out here kind of late because ain't that much traffic. As you can see today, I don't have the vest on. Damn, you look kind of skinny. But I ain't got the vest on. I had a crazy training session today with my boy Rashid. Whole workout, 30-pound vest on. I had enough vest for the day, but uh shit. Once I made a decision that I was gonna come out here and do this, I still gotta get the walk in. But yeah, closer to the goal. Kind of slipped a little bit this weekend. I ain't gonna say slip, but I took a little break. Back at it today, eating all my good stuff. You know, um, yeah, it's been a good week so far. It's still well, it's about to be Tuesday, but whatever. So I'm gonna get it. I ain't got no small talk for y'all. Going straight into what we want to talk about today. So if you read the title and you seen the thumbnail, you know what I'm gonna talk about. And obviously, if you're a man and you look at the internet, like it's almost impossible to escape Manosphere, Red Pill, all of that type of content. It's almost impossible, and um, I would hope that this is the only time I ever talk about this. But I felt like since I am a male creator, it is something worth talking about. But yeah, so the Manosphere, what is I guess I don't even want to say a movement, but it's like a network of men, I would say, who share information. Um, and I think I do like a few creators that do Manosphere content, but I don't think like if you were to ask me about like the big people that everybody talks about, I don't really identify with those people like Andrew Tate, uh, really the people I use in the thumbnail. So Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, uh, what's the white guy? Took me forever to figure out his name. The older white guy, the older white guy with Jordan Peterson. Not to say, well, he's not quite as at least he's not quite as like douchey, but I think a lot of that content has a lot of truth to it, but at the same time, my problem with that whole shtick or that whole, I guess, movement or the whole thing is just really the disrespect. Obviously, um, ain't nobody out here. They playing this music this loud. But it's usually the disrespect, and it's obviously men are big on respect, and it's nothing really respectful about like you know how things are being said, and obviously, you know, sometimes yeah, I understand you got to say things a certain way in order to get people to listen, but uh, I don't know, a lot of it's unnecessary to me. Uh, but at the same time, and this conversation is not necessarily for or against. It's just more so me explaining my opinion because like I said, I do see some good in it, but I also see kind of like in certain ways it can kind of be like a counterproductive argument. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I see? Somebody said something about women need to get back in the kitchen, and there's this whole thing of like women need to go back to being traditional. And the thing is, it's like, could being traditional help women or be good for them? Absolutely. But you know, that's unrealistic to say or to really have the idea of that women are just gonna, stop working, quit their jobs, freaking. all of a sudden just decide that they gonna go back to, being what they were before. It's unrealistic. And then at the same time, it's like, what are the men gonna do? Are the men gonna go out, marry all these women, and are they capable of doing that? You know what I'm saying? Or is this just a thing where, you know, we have deficiencies and we need somebody to blame for them? Now and like I said, this is it's an unbiased conversation. So you're gonna hear me say some things for and against. So, but and I also, with that being said, yes, I do understand that dating, especially, like the courting phase of dating, is like hard mode for like most guys nowadays. Like, it's hard to be noticed. It's hard to be seen. It's hard to like, it's hard to get attention. You really gotta be able to put yourself out there and look good doing it. And a lot of people do have unrealistic expectations, women, you know. Um, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, just arguing on the internet with women, I don't think that really solves anything. I'm more of the take action type of approach, or the way of thinking. My way of thinking is just about taking action. Like if everybody has this train of thought, why not just, focus on yourself and do what needs to be done for yourself? Because really that's what they doing, you know. But like I said, I don't think you can walk back, you know, where we're at in society. You can't walk that back. You can't, you know, people can't go back to like, you know, waiting for marriage, unfortunately. You know. You can't go back to the way it was. It's not gonna go back to the way it was, you know. We're in 2024. So I think with a lot of us men, a lot of the responsibility, or the not even responsibility, a lot of the thing that we have to come to grips with is the way that the world is, and being able to adapt and being able to be okay with it. It's I would say, like, if everybody is running around the internet, and this funny thing is, this conversation is only on the internet. Like like I don't like I've never like been out with a girl, or been out, like, really even out with homeboys, and we sitting down having like these type of conversations. These conversations only take place on the internet. So either, you know, people aren't being their authentic selves in person, or, like I said, the internet is overhyping shit. But I digress. But I think if some of these things that people are saying on the internet are true, which they might be, you know, y'all, we, me, everybody gotta kind of like learn how to adapt. Um, you know, marriage. I asked an older friend of mine, and he's been married for like 20 plus years, and he has his own podcast. And I was, just trying to get him to speak more so about like what people can do if they want to get married. And you know, he's a religious man, and I thought that he was going to give me the typical answer, of somebody who would be in the church, of where it's no like, God's going to send somebody for you and such, which, very well may be true. I'm a Christ follower, I would say myself. But he actually said like the truth. He was like, that might not be for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that might not happen. Look at the world, it might not be feasible. Now, if you find somebody, then great. But you know, I don't want to sell you the dream of, you know, somebody magically is gonna show up and be in your life. And, well, I ain't gonna say magically show up, but like that, you can't guarantee somebody to anybody that they're gonna be married, have families in this day and age. And even if they do, it might not be in the traditional sense that we all, I guess, or I guess the world has uh, programmed us to think that is the correct way of how we should have our family. Um, so does this help men or hurt men? Does the manosphere today help men or hurt men? That's a tough thing to actually talk or actually decide because for some men, I think it's they coddling it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it allows. I feel like some of y'all are allowed to have the Peter Pan syndrome. You know, and I could look at myself and I feel like it's times in my life where I've like needed to grow up. You know, and the last thing we need is people on the internet just removing accountability from either sex. Male or female, but really, especially men, man, we don't need to remove accountability. We need to go harder. Um, because usually taking responsibility is the wave that'll allow you to progress. Being able to admit where your shortcomings are, like you know, if you're not in a position where you can financially support your family or really be a man, like that's a real deal conversation. That's a real deal problem. That's a real deal situation. And shout out to everybody who in the room tonight. Feel free to chime in if you got some input. But that's a real deal conversation, especially with the way that the world is with the economy. Not even the world, the economy. Especially the way that the economy is going. Who can really you know, I'm gonna work on my little your nose and all that. Who can really afford to live? You know, um, 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 um. Who can really afford to live? If you got kids, you got cars, some of y'all got houses, and then on top of that, everybody wants nice things. So money is probably, I would say, it does boil down to the money to start off with. It boils down to the money. You want to look for why something is changing or different. It was going to first boil down to the money. You got to start with the money. You know, if and if women have more of their own money, then they gonna that's really that's just economics. That's just really just business. But if women have more money, then yes, the price goes up. If they have less money, then they're gonna be more economical and reasonable and say, "Oh, I need you," and all this other stuff. So, and also, if I say anything that's like not favorable to men or women, it's not like personal. Now that's the other part I want to touch on because the other part about like the internet that has this conversation is if you're a male having this conversation with other men, or if you're a woman having this conversation with other women, it's something I had to realize like the conversation you're having, there's a complete opposite of it on the internet. And by that I mean like if men are on the internet complaining like, oh, women don't do this and women we gave them their chance and da 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 da. It's literally a part of the internet having the exact same conversation, saying the exact same thing, but about the other sex. And once I realized that, my brain was like, oh, like whoa, like we really just we really just talking to hear ourselves talk at this point. We really just coddling people. We're really just coddling people and not actually letting them know what their deficiencies are. If you want to actually figure out what's the problem, it's really everybody. It's not, boiled down to men or women. It's literally everybody. I don't know where everybody felt like they just deserved so much for so little, at least. You know, so much for so little. So, and obviously, you know, TikTok is a huge. Uh, I would say YouTube is probably the biggest platform for the male side of the argument. And for the female side of the argument, TikTok is probably like the biggest place. And boy, now this is the other part. This is another thing I like to add. Even though, and this is just maybe I'm the only person who feels this way, but I have always felt like even though something is the truth, everything that's the truth don't actually need to be said. Like sometimes the truth is just understood. And that's the other, boy, I got that Hellcat. But that's the other part of this argument. Like the truth ain't always got to be said, or if it is said, it's not like why people are making all these arguments to beat each other up. I'm like, bro, like you motherfuckers have these conversations like to downplay one another or to hurt somebody's feelings when it ain't even that serious. You know what I'm saying? I look at if I listen to, I use Andrew Tate for example. If I listen to Andrew Tate and I find some sort of information or I'm influenced by him, which I'm not really, but if I'm influenced by him, I'm not finna take his words and go find the first girl I meet and go have an argument with her about some shit he said. You know what I'm saying? Really, a lot of this information on the internet or that people are getting, it ain't meant to be repeated 1,000 times to just win random arguments with strange people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's somebody who I actually was talking to about this. It was like, if you hear some information like this, where certain things are said, you got to be mindful that this information is a shield and not a sword. Like, this information is really just for you to protect yourself. It's not for you to, like, run around being angry at women who had children out of wedlock or run around being angry at men who got a lot of options. It's really just to protect yourself. That's it. You know, obviously people are out here, when it comes to dating relationships, everybody's hurt. So, you can't, at that point, you can't control, what a person's anger or, a person who theoretically is trying to get their lick back, what they're going to put out into the world. They just going to put it out there. Um, but yeah, man, too much, too much sword and not enough shield, bro. It's like I see a lot. Like I said, I see a lot of, and really, what inspired me to do this stream about this was really I saw. I think I might have just been on YouTube and I was scrolling, and I just started like it was. I just started noticing like I literally what was coming through my algorithm, and I would look at like my algorithm as far as the videos that would like pop up just for videos to watch. And then obviously if you're on YouTube, they have shorts. And I would just notice like my algorithm for the videos that I would just watch, it would be you know, Madden or freaking weightlifted and all this stuff. And then I would go to the shorts and I'm like, yo, why is this? Why does it keep referring me shorts that are different from what I actually watch um, on YouTube? And obviously, you know how it works. So if you interact with one video, it's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep trying to push it to you after you interact. But I would literally see like, videos of men and women almost in succession saying like disgusting things, It'd be women, you know, uh, happy about, child support checks, but like not in a sense of like, oh, you're taking care of your child, more so in the sense of like, you know, really just wanting the opposite person that they was with to feel some sort of pain or, uh, to be without, But it was just like video after video. And I'm like, I had to put the phone down. I was like, bro, like, this isn't really helping me do anything. This doesn't make me want to be a better man. This doesn't make me want to, do more for my family. This doesn't make me want to do more for my friends. This doesn't really make me do more for myself. It just literally, at least from a male perspective, this is literally just feeding my ego. So, and obviously, and like I just said earlier, for every part of the internet, there's an equal and opposite part. So there's a part of if there's a part of the internet that's feeding the male ego, there's also a part of the internet that's feeding the female ego, you know. But I think you can't. I mean, at this point, you literally have to accept the world for what it is and make the most of it. You know, being angry, you know, violence, or doing something despicable to the opposite sex is really just unacceptable. So that's the one thing people always talk about, like, who's the problem in dating? And you know, I feel like there's a certain point in history where uh, you know, the majority of people would be like, the man is the problem. The man isn't taking care of his kids. The man isn't doing this. And obviously, I feel like we're entering a time where, you know, at least like the conclusions people are coming to is more so even and slightly even, people are starting to blame women a lot. And like I said, I wholeheartedly believe that both genders are to blame for the state of, saying dating, you know, because even as a man, you know, if women are doing certain things, you have to stay true. You can't just uh, always fold to somebody else's will if it affects, the outcome of your life, And the crazy part is a lot of women respect, a man who won't stand up for herself. That is what it is. The crazy part is you may lose a girl, but she'll respect you. So, the vibes be kind of vibey. So I don't know who's in here. If somebody in here and they want to speak, what do y'all think? I've been talking for about 25 minutes now. Like I said, this not gonna be a long stream. I almost didn't get up and do this stream. And I actually, while we're streaming, like I said, if there's two people, I'm not done yet. So if you're thinking you're gonna leave, I'm gonna pick it back up. But I'm thanking whoever's watching for watching because um, I be not feeling like doing this, but every time I get on here and stream, I see like two or three more people, that hop in the stream. And even if you're not saying nothing, you're just watching. Uh, Feel free to leave a like. comment. Obviously, I bring all the comments on screen at this point. So if you have something to say, if you have a comment, if you have something to add to the conversation, you're welcome to add that to the conversation. But yeah, just thank you. Obviously, I'm no big streamer, or I don't want to even say streamer because I'm not about to be doing the stuff that, them guys do, like Kai Cenat and them. Or maybe, I don't know. You never know where it might go. But um, I would definitely say thank you for the people who have been watching the channel, you know, the people who have been subscribing and all that. So with that being said, I personally, and granted, I haven't had this conversation about, the women and women dynamic at all on this channel. Really, ever, at least on camera, I've had this conversation with, like, women and, you know, behind doors debates, but how you see how that go, but me personally, this conversation about men and women and the dynamics of dating and the blah 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 blah, like, I'm done having this conversation. I'm done listening to people have this conversation. I'm done having it myself. At least in the toxic way that the internet has you know decided that we need to talk about this. I'm good on that conversation. At least like I said, in a toxic way. I think it's in certain instances it is an okay conversation to have because we gotta figure out ways to understand each other. But the uh, whole goofy people on the internet, upset at the opposite sex. I'm good, fam. At this point, I'm ready to just ignore. Like, like if you're the thing that they're making fun of, I'm not even gonna speak on it. I ain't even gonna feed it any attention. And that's the crazy part with a lot of this stuff. Like, the easiest way for people to weed out like things that they don't like is not to. And some other people would disagree with me, but the easiest way for you to weed out a lot of people is to simply not pay them any attention. You know, that's it. You see what happens when you don't pay people attention. And they want to come back to the damn table. They want to, ask why you can't do this. It's kind of crazy how that works. But when you paying them all the attention, they gonna fight you to and finale. It's crazy how this shit work. So really, if it's some shit going on in dating in the world that you don't like, outside of somebody trying to do something violent to you, they trying to do something violent to you, I ain't telling you to ignore that. You gotta, face that full force. But I'm talking about, you know, people having their goofy little opinions or their goofy little uh, ideas about dating. If you're tired or if you're, not aligned with what's going on out here, you probably should ignore it. And the reason why all of this stuff is so big is just people just can't ignore. People can't look away from the dumpster fire. Half the time, I really think most of the stuff that's said on the internet is just to piss people off. It ain't even, you know, it's not even somebody's true and honest beliefs. It's literally just, they know that saying this will piss off this group of people and I can go viral. It's the name of the game. It was crazy because, and this is related but unrelated, Jerry Jones, I don't know how many of y'all are Cowboys fans. I'm not necessarily a Cowboys fan. I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan for life. But I found this interesting. Jerry Jones was talking the other day. He made like a statement, basically saying that above all things, he's gonna make sure that the team is getting attention. And he didn't say positive attention. He didn't say negative attention. He just said attention. If the team isn't getting attention, we're gonna do something to get attention. So the drama, everything that goes on with the team, the name of the game is attention. So be careful what you give your attention to. Here's the other part about this whole thing, and this is more so about the manosphere. Uh, I have a hard time believing all of these people. you know, I just do. You know, Yeah, I can't imagine that could have like, and here's the thing, some of the stuff they're saying could very well work in dating. I ain't even gonna front because, like I said, just like how the men are being toxic, the women gonna be toxic too, and that's But I don't truly believe that all of the pimping and the you this and you that with women. I don't always believe that these guys are moving through their dating lives like that. You know. So we've been going for 30 minutes. Whew. So this is Shops of Legacy. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Shops of Legacy. It's a beautiful night. That was one of the things that and that's like the crazy part is that's one of my worst fears actually, or one of my reservations was about starting this YouTube channel is that I really didn't want to start doing this and actually become good at it and put a lot of stuff out and then become, I guess, like a manosphere creator or red pill creator. That was my only reservation. But then at the same time, I'm like, if I got something to say, I might as well just say it. So, um, yeah. Now, and like I said, there are a couple creators in that space I think are dope, but the majority, I probably, even if they're telling the truth, I just don't like. I don't see myself like wanting to be like them to a point where I should be taking that much influence. You know, shit, get off the internet and touch grass. Granted, I'm on the internet, but I'm touching grass at the same time. You feel me? Lighting up here, good. You know what I'm saying? Ooh. So, hold on, I gotta go back and like, if you've been watching my streams or if you got me on IG, I fucked my face up in the gym, but the boy healing. I'm so blessed. So yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I guess to bring it around really is not really helping me. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I think you got to listen to it with a grain of salt because I know that in some cases men are like depressed and hearing some of those creators are like the thing that's keeping you from, terminating yourself. So I get that part of it. But these people ain't nothing to be worshiped. I don't feel like you should be worshiping these people who literally have this conversation on the internet. This is how I feel. Ugh. So I got to come up with some other live stream ideas. I usually do. You know, I usually may see something or something may happen in my life, or you know, that'll make me want to talk about something. And I was out of town this week or this weekend, or else I would have been did this. I would have had this on Friday, but I couldn't really stream from where I was. Well, I could have, but I'm not very familiar with College Station, so I wasn't about to live stream out there. But I probably could have live streamed and went to Northgate though, because college is about to be back. That's another thing I've been thinking about. So if you from Dallas, I do I am a photographer at a lot of the SMU events and things like that. So some of them parties be kind of out of control. Been thinking about like live streaming on some of them events. And obviously we're gonna still get into the improvement stuff and the deep stuff. And like I said, this is literally the journey. It's really me talking to myself, but I would hope that somebody, you know what I'm saying, aligns with what I'm saying. But it's really, yeah, it's really me talking. It's me talking to whoever the fuck listening, but it's really me talking to myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause shout out to everybody popping up in a room at one time. But it's really me talking to myself, cause even like tonight, I be needing that motivation. Not even motivation. I be needing, I don't know, no, I don't even need motivation. I need to be on a schedule, whether I feel like doing something or not. And that's the bottom line. And what I just seen in the how I just seen the view account jump, yo, that's all I got asked for, yo. Every time I get on here, just one or two more people taking the time out to watch. So I think that's gonna be it. I'm gonna keep doing these streams. Like I said, we're gonna do 3 times a week. Shout out, Jadid Michael said, Manosphere cap up. See, and now the conversation continues. So yeah, I I do agree. I feel in certain. Here's the thing. I feel like it's cap, but it's cap because the creators aren't necessarily. I look at the creators like how I look at line ass rappers. You know what I'm saying? They don't live out their raps. You know what I'm saying? Like these people will be literally telling you to do things and say things and be certain ways when they not living that lifestyle themselves. Show on stage. Reach out to me. Actually, I have a very similar opinion to your topic. Hit me up. Shout out to Glenn Lawrence Presents. Shout out to you, man. You saw what happened to Myron's girl. Laughed my ass off. I don't know what happened to Myron's girl. I don't actually. Here's the thing. I don't actually watch. I don't watch him enough to know what happened to him. I used to be. I used to be Rolo's producer. Also, and here's the thing. I'm not even in this conversation, I'm not necessarily looking to go to war with these guys, or I'm not looking to get them to notice me or anything like that. I'm just having a conversation for the sake of uh for men in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like uh I don't think that the conversation is productive anymore. And even in the beginning of my conversation, some of the stuff that is being said is rooted in truth, but the conversation is more of in my eyes, it's more of a shield. It needs to be more of a shield and less of a sword. It's like, there's no way that you're gonna escape women in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, uh, what is it, MGTOW? You're never gonna, at least you're not gonna have a great life trying to escape from women, or walking around the world like they don't exist. You know what I'm saying? You're just not like, and you can lie to yourself, and You could tell yourself like, I don't ever want to interact with a woman, but that's cope, my guy. I don't know. I think it actually might have been Rolo Tomasi who I'm unsure, but I think it was him who said something along the lines of young guys need to get vasectomies. And I'm like, nigga, what? Like, I'm like, yo, why would you tell any young man to get it? And he talking about he talking about younger men. Like vasectomy is for like motherfucker can't stop having kids. You know what I'm saying? Not for a young man who's like trying to find his way in the world. You know what I'm saying? So there's another comment. Why do why do they point out that feminism? The problem promiscuity is the problem, and promiscuity is the problem. But all their prescriptions tend to be capitalized on promiscuity, working with feminism, and not pushing back. Um, Promiscuity, and I don't know when you joined in from me talking. Uh, Unfortunately, and regardless of how I feel about promiscuity, that's not uh that's not something that you can walk back in society. And that's another part. That's the other part of the conversation that I feel weird about. Because you can't really like where society is, how people move, how people are having sex with one another. You can't really walk that back. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get women to you're not gonna get women to all of a sudden say, oh, we're not having sex anymore with, the men we want to have sex with. You're not gonna walk that back. You're not gonna walk back like, you know, the stuff on the internet. You're not. I mean, the obviously the explicit content on the internet and people making money and all this stuff. You're not going to be able to walk that back. So that's another reason why I just feel the the argument is unproductive because at the end of the day, I feel like if you're trying to get men ready for the world, you have to have them deal with what's going on in the actual. He dropped a couple more comments. Well, actually, you can incentivize them to be more chaste. Okay, you absolutely could, but with what? What would you incentivize them with? Um, do you feel if do you feel that the men are going to marry up these women if they become more chaste, or are men ready for marriage? Are we all financially equipped to deal with the family and all of those things? There absolutely could be. It would be a lot easier if I gave me the link and I was able to pop up. Well, I mean, I don't. It's not a huge audience, so I will. Let me see if I can drop a link here. Uh, if you can't see this link, let me know if it lets me. This shit is weird. I don't know if it's gonna allow me to drop this link. But now that you said that, though, sub if you can sub, man, because like I said, I'll be streaming multiple times out the week, and I have a whole live stream set up at the house. I absolutely am, but I'm using it on my phone, and the orientation is not allowing for me to send this while I'm actually streaming. So, but I would say you could incentivize them, yes, but do you feel, do you feel, okay, in your heart of hearts, or in your in your opinion, as a whole society, do you feel like, well, yes, I did that, but it's not. Let's see if I turn it. Will it allow it? Oh, it actually will allow it. Let's see that. Boom. What's going on, man?
How you doing, man?
Oh man, you got the whole setup.
I wasn't kidding when I said I was his producer.
Yeah, nah, I absolutely see. I absolutely see that. So, obviously, you're welcome to introduce yourself. I'm not necessarily a Manosphere streamer. I'm more so just wanting to. I'm on like a journey to just become a better person. And obviously, I know that my audience is gonna be primarily men. And
Uh-huh.
obviously, the Manosphere is just like something that has a chokehold on men. And in my eyes, I don't know how productive the conversation is anymore. Um, and obviously,
Well,
you
yeah,
can.
I mean, it definitely has hit a point of diminishing returns, and a lot of contradictions in what it says it's trying to do, right? Um, so I don't know how familiar with this space that you are. You know, like you obviously had Rolo on the thumbnail. You had Myron. You know, Andrew Tate. You know, I'm
Those are
well.
just the notable faces that I know that,
I know I've
like,
met all of them except Tate. So like, but Tate and I we have mutual friends. And actually, I'm not. Do you know who RP Thor was?
I don't know who that was.
Okay, well he was my mentor. He just passed away in May.
Sorry to hear
Um,
that.
no,
Condolences.
it was better. It was better for him than suffering. So, um, but I have taken over his community. Like I run his nonprofit now. I created a nonprofit for based off of him. It's
Gotcha.
called the Core. And
Gotcha.
so what I do is I take the red pill and I go like this. Okay, thank you for the information. You know, appreciate the info, but I'm not going to stay here and bitch about women. I got shit to do, right? Um, because it's really not masculine to sit here and complain about what women are not doing.
Mm. Yeah.
Like,
Really?
why are we going to be sounding going back and forth like a bunch of girls? Like hypergamy, hyper. How about you just become the guy that is not needing to worry about hypergamy because he is the best option when he walks in the room, or
Absolutely.
the guy that has such a presence to him when he walks in the room, everybody gravitates towards him. You know,
Nah,
like,
I totally agree.
and so that's exactly what my mentor wrote about in his book, A Dominant Masculine Presence. And that's what I write about in my book, The Essential Skill of a Dominant Masculine Presence. So, um, what we talk about is like, yeah, we move beyond the red pill. We
Mm.
get what we need from the red pill. Thank you for the information. Again, thank you guys for doing all that work, but they're not providing any solutions. And men
Yeah.
are needing solutions.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear more about the problem. They want to hear, okay, how do we solve the problem? It's like, you know, why guys don't like talk therapy? Because talk therapy doesn't solve our problems. It's like,
Indeed.
how does it make you feel? We don't care how it makes us feel. We feel right now is irritated that you're asking us these questions and not providing us no solutions. You know,
Yeah. Nah, that's true.
so the red pill just is very feminine in that sense of like it just kind of like keeps on talking about the problem without ever coming out with a solution. And we are about solution based, you know. So like the nonprofit that I run, the Sons of Thor, we are moving beyond that. We're like, okay, look, this is how we're going to move forward. You know, work on these 7 different P's. These are 7 super skills. You got, you know, physicality, psychology, problem solving, right?
Mm.
You got perspicacity, you got power, you got passion, and you got the last one, the most important one is presence.
Mm.
When you create your own dominant masculine presence of yourself, cultivated by you, right? Then you don't care about who's alpha and beta.
For
You're
sure.
not worried about whether you are the most authentically the most dominant version of you.
Absolutely.
I'm not worried about whose box I fit into. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about it in that way, these container words that we got to worry about, because the truth is everybody's a contextual alpha. You're not always going to be alpha all the time.
It depends on what room you in.
Exactly. When you're at work, guess what? You are not alpha unless you're the
Y-
owner of that business.
Absolutely.
And it's that simple. So these people are thinking that, like, oh, I got to be alpha. No, just be authentically you. Be the most dominant version of you and own it. Take up space in the world. Don't be ashamed of it. And the thing is, like, what I say is like, why do I care about what women say?
Why? Why do you care what women say?
I don't. I really don't. The reason is because if I do that, then I'm making women my purpose.
Mm.
Now God made Adam and he gave Adam a purpose before he gave him a wife. So what do you think was more of a priority for Adam to take care of?
Say that again.
When God made Adam, he gave him a purpose before he gave him a wife. So what do you think is more of a priority for Adam?
His purpose.
Exactly. Now, what was his wife supposed to be? She was a helpmate.
Help
So
me.
she's supposed to help him along his purpose.
Right.
So she's not supposed to be his purpose. He's not supposed to pedestalize her. But see, we have taught men to pedestalize their women and that their wives' happiness is their purpose. And when they come to realize that they cannot make their wife happy and they can't force them to be happy
Yep.
because they have no power over them, right? We feel like we failed. They think that we failed because we promised that we were going to do this thing. I don't know why we did that. That was kind of dumb to begin with. But now we set ourselves up for failure. And then, you know, I don't I don't feel in love anymore. It's like,
If you don't mind me
so
asking, have you ever been married?
married and divorced.
Okay, married and divorced. And do you feel like obviously you don't have to go into detail if you don't like, but do you feel like your situation kind of mirrors that type of scenario?
Oh, absolutely. Like I was a youth pastor for several years, and they were teaching the whole servant leader model. Like, if your wife is not sleeping with you, you just got to be a better servant leader. If your
Mm,
wife is not listening to you, just be a better servant leader. And
mm.
as if it was nothing contingent upon her, it was all contingent. Like it was almost like she didn't have no agency over her actions. Um, and that's not true. We both know that men and women have agency. The problem is that we live in a society that has infantized women. We they'll say that we love women, but we don't love women at all. Actually, we actually really hate women.
Oh,
Um, and I'll point it out to you in this way. Um, we always remove them from consequence. We remove the consequence as much as we can from them. Why? Why do we do that? That is not love. Love is allowing them to face the consequence, to respect the decision that they made, and now that they are made this mess, if we honored them, if we respected them, we would let them figure that out. Let them sit in that consequence, you know. And
unfortunately, not having the consequences is a lot easier route though.
well, when you remove the consequence, what did they learn?
Nothing.
Well, they did learn something. They learned that you're going to take their consequence away from them,
Yeah,
so that
that's
they're going
probably the
to,
only thing.
and they learn that they don't have to be accountable because you're going to remove that accountability from them. So our society does not love women. And I don't want to equate to women as to children because I know a lot of guys do that in the red pill space. But I'll use this like reference: like if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
For sure.
So if society spares women, right, it spoils the women. It makes them not marriageable. So the question is that how can we change this? Well, it's really easy. We could change it in about 2 generations, in my opinion, but it takes a lot of work, and none of us are going to experience it. We might be dead and gone by the time that we see when the changes actually take place.
Mm,
But the thing is, our children's children will see it. And we should want to leave an inheritance, a legacy for our children's children. We want to leave the world better for our children's children than we inherited it. Does that make sense?
absolutely. No, absolutely. So, touching kind of like on where you were going, I'm just curious your thoughts. So, how how exactly do you feel? Obviously, I don't. Me personally, I don't think we'll see it, and I agree that I don't know if we'll see that in my generation or your generation. But what could actually be done if you're a person who I guess identifies with more of the traditional way of thinking or the traditional way of life.
Well, one, let's be real. We're not going to get in a time machine, and we're not going back to 1950. And for everybody that has romanticized over 1950, they never lived there. Okay, we I don't know what it's like back in 1950. Oh, have you seen a bunch of people coming in? They're coming in from my channel. I'm trying to get you some views, man. I'm trying to get you some likes and views right now. Um, so you know, all the people that nobody knows what 1950s like. My grandmother was born in the 20s. She knows what 1950 was like. And if everybody wants like a traditional woman, then they need to start dating 90-year-olds because those are the last traditional women that were alive. Because ever since then we had technology advancements and all kinds of stuff. So no, we're not going to make a time machine and we're not going back to the 1950s. What we
Mm,
can do though is look forward because we should only be moving forward, not looking backwards. So we should be able to take the things that we like from these different generations and eras, right? And then apply them to our future. Okay. So if the reality is that all these people that want to have traditional families and the dad work and the mom stay at home, okay, I'm all for that. I think that ideally that's the best for the nuclear family. But the reality is only 18% of people can survive off of one income, or 18% of relationships or couples, married or unmarried, could survive off of one income in the United States.
I
So,
mean, that sounds right.
so if I snap my fingers and when I did that, all feminism was eradicated, and then all the women were now stay-at-home wives. Do you know that means the men today would have to now shoulder all the responsibility that they've been neglecting to have to shoulder because they've been doing 50-50?
Correct.
The men are not equipped today to take on that burden. Most men are not equipped today to take on that burden.
Correct.
So the problem is not necessarily women. The problem is that we need to rise men up, build men up to be good patriarchs, to be able to take on that responsibility that was theirs to begin with, that they have been neglecting because society told them that they could only have to do 50-50. But if we now make men take full responsibility of their their stuff and they rise up to the standard, well, when men rise up, women rise up.
Very true.
There was a saying that said, it was a church saying that said, if you save the man, you save the family. We kind of abandoned that in the last 40 years. We have neglected the men. We have ostracized the men. We have removed the man. And we see how society is decaying.
Yeah, society is a lot softer.
Softer. We have androgynousness going on. We have genderless beings.
No,
We have
you're
people
absolutely right. Yeah.
confused. So what we need to do is save the man. Not bad men. We don't want to encourage bad behavior, but we want to encourage good behavior,
Mm.
honorable behavior. You know, it's it's like this. You ever seen the movie The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe?
I haven't.
All right. I'm gonna give
Maybe
you
I
like a
need to put that on my watch list.
it's a good kids movie. I'm not gonna lie, but there's this part I kind of like change it up a little bit because I make it funnier than the movie. Um, like so, this little girl named Lucy. She's talking to like a possum or something like that, or a squirrel or something. I don't know, mole, and they're talking about meeting Aslan. Now Aslan is a lion, right? Now, Aslan represents like Jesus, right? The Lion of Judah and all this stuff. So he represents like Jesus in the depiction. And so she's like, I'm quite scared to meet Aslan. Is he's a lion? Is he safe? And Mr. Mole is like, no, bitch, he's a fucking lion. Of course he's not safe, but he's good. But he's good. And I think there's a difference. Men need to stop trying to project safety, like that. We're letting women think that they're safe because we're not safe. We're very capable of doing very much damage, a lot of damage.
For
You know,
sure.
I have put a lot of people to sleep real quick. You know, and I know what damage I can do, so I know what I'm capable of. Right. So
Men can
we're not
inflict a lot
safe.
of pain.
Yes. And so to project that we are safe, that would be a lie. We're not safe, but we are good. Now, what does good mean? Well, good means that you're good to yourself first. You're not going to let someone not treat, you're not going to disrespect yourself and you're not going to allow yourself to be disrespected. So that's good. But you're also not going to impose your will on those beneath you. You're going to allow them the same free will that God has given you because that's
Absolutely.
good. So if they want to walk away from you, that's fine. You're not going to force them to. I don't want to force anybody, you know? So there's a difference between being a good patriarch and a bad patriarch. We need to be good men, not just men, because men, you know, in itself, it could just go either way. We need to aspire to be better men.
And I guess in short, you want to be able to eliminate the tyrant.
Yeah. Why do we need time? You know what? Do you know what power really is? Do you know how much power you have?
I guess it's how you look at it.
So power is this. I know that the only power I have control over is what I allow in and out of my life. That's it.
Well, yeah, you have power over yourself
That's
and
it.
not others per se.
That's exactly right. I can't control a woman, nor do I want to. I, like I'm allowed to set up the framework for a relationship. If I'm going to get in a relationship, like, hey, girl, so this is my boundaries, my relationship boundaries right here. If you operate anywhere within these boundaries, we're Gucci. If you operate outside those boundaries, we nada. Okay.
Right.
Like there's not even point to argue about it. It's just like you already know this from the jump. You already know my standard from the beginning, right? I'm not negotiating, you know. So if we could make this work, if you could fit in here, great. If not, I wish you the best.
Absolutely.
When you set it up that way, you're saying that one, you don't have a scarcity mindset. You're saying that you would rather not have this woman in your life than have to compromise on what you want your framework of your relationship to be.
Mm,
And you know what I'm saying? So I'm not negotiating. This is how I want my relationship to be. I'm not trying to control you, but I'm just trying to control my life. And if you're going to be in my life, this is how you could be in my life in this box, you know? Um, and if it's good for you, then great. But what men need to do is they need to create the framework, right? That makes their box that they present, their frame, more attractive than the frame that she has in order for her to abandon her frame to want to live in yours.
mm.
So you have to present the world to her, your world, in a way, right? Authentically, and it has to be more attractive than what she has. Or she's going to be questioning why should she do this.
And I would say that is Glenn. I would say I definitely appreciate you uh, taking the time to speak because the viewer count is going up and everything.
Hey,
So
everybody, go over to go like and subscribe right now. Go
so,
like and subscribe.
but what you just described is essentially the reason why I am doing this channel, and it's not necessarily about dating or per se or how we could get the most women in bed or anything like that. It's just simply about creating the framework, creating the process, creating the habits that
Mhm.
will allow us to be obviously the most versions of ourselves that are. And I don't know if you're a religious person or not. Well, you said you were a
I
youth
hold it. I
pastor.
hold a degree. I hold a degree in theology.
Yeah,
I used to
so
be a
you're a
youth
youth
pastor.
pastor. The
Former,
closest
former, former.
the closest versions of ourselves that are, to God, and that's, that is the purpose of this channel. Basically, what you just said. My
Mhm.
channel name is It's Keldon. It's right here at the bottom of the screen. Um, Glenn, so this stream is usually my walk, and I've made it to the end of my walk.
No
So
problem.
I am about to clock out, but I am absolutely about to subscribe. Uh,
Hit me up, man. Hit me up.
and
We'll chat. I'll bring you up.
absolutely,
I run panel shows every once in a while. I do a lot of conversations about this topic specifically. This is more my forte, especially when I incorporate religion into it. Um, People think there's a wide divide. I show them it's not very wide, but we got to look at the principle of it. Would love to have you on some of these the discussions, man. Um,
absolutely.
all right. Well, you have yourself a good one, man.
You do the same, and like I said, much appreciate you coming and checking in on me. That you, like I said, you don't know me from Jack Diddley, so I absolutely appreciate you coming in and, obviously speaking the piece.
Of course, man. Hey, you have a good one. Hit me up.
All right, man.
All right. Peace.
All right. And shout out to everybody else who is in the room. Please like, subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. I will be streaming 3 times a week. This is the end of the stream, so if you wanted to see what we was talking about or what I was talking about even before Glenn came on, you want to rewind back. And Cynthia, what's up, Cynthia? He is a part of the area I am at. Okay. Okay, so Cynthia is familiar with Glenn. Okay. Cynthia knows all. So did I miss any? Actually, before I get off, did I miss any comments? So I'm assuming you look familiar, my guy. But I am Keldon, and I have to let me pull Glenn's channel back up here. Shout out to Smoking Space, man. Can't stick around. He had to get his sleep. Boom. Raging Patriot, what's up? Shout out to you. See, the view count gonna go up, and it's time for me to get off the stream. Stopping by for a midnight snack. Peace, Dynamo. What's up? And obviously, Cynthia. Shout out to Cynthia. Everybody who is dropping comments tonight. Like I said, please like, subscribe. Awesome stream. I would see. I didn't even plan to stream this long, but good night. Love y'all. That's what it is.